Good morning. It's May 30th. This is To My Little Friends. Well, it's Friday and also basically the end of the month of May. It will soon be 7 months since the elections, and Democrats are still trying to understand how and why they lost. That civil war is going on within the party, continues to divide them, and much of that division is based on a generational problem as well as some policy issues. The physical and mental problems of Joe Biden allowed this conflict to break out into the open. Once Biden had failed so miserably in a debate held last June, it was apparent that younger Democrats were tired of being led by a bunch of geriatrics who were out of tune with where they thought the party ought to be headed. The divisions were not just age-related. There were major policy disputes and a clear division on how the Democratic Party should confront Trump and his Republican majorities in Congress. 7 months in and nothing has been resolved. The clock is ticking on the 2026 midterm elections, and there seems to be no clear message. Earlier this week, the Democratic polling group Catalyst released its in-depth analysis of the 2024 losses, and the message that came out of that analysis would be summed up in 3 words: massive system failure. Democrats underperformed compared to the 2020 cycle in nearly every significant battleground and within almost all relevant demographic groups. Overall turnout was remarkably high, with 64% of eligible voters casting ballots. In most post-war election cycles, high turnout has been an advantage to the Democratic ticket, but the Harris-Walz campaign consistently lost footing among almost all electoral subgroups. In the biggest such group, returned voters in the prior cycle, Harris' support dropped 2 points from Biden's showing in 2020. And the bad news keeps coming as you drill down. Harris-Walz lost support among all voters of color, with Latino males dropping below 50% support for a Democratic ticket for the first time, and saw already worrisome gender gaps worsen within voters of color. According to this in-depth analysis, new voters broke for Republicans against Democrats for the first time since they've been conducting this analysis. They also estimate that 30 million voters from the 2020 elections did not vote in 2024, which would be the largest such figure in modern history. Swing voters also broke against the Democratic ticket, which resulted in Donald Trump winning all 7 battleground states. The most surprising and most devastating change was the shift in non-college educated voters. These blue-collar workers have been a mainstay of Democrats, and that block of voters crumbled before their own eyes. Even among college-educated voters, one of their shining points, the numbers dipped by 3 points from 59 to 56%. So what are the Democrats going to do to turn this ship around before it goes completely to ground? They're waging an internal conflict that shows no signs of abating. This week came one of the elder statesmen of the party, Steny Hoyer, the Democrat from Maryland, became aware that he would be challenged in a primary by a 35-year-old volunteer firefighter and former Jeopardy contestant. Henry Jurin is making the age of Hoyer a main focus of his campaign. He states that Hoyer is a product of a bygone era and that congressional seats should not be treated as lifetime appointments. Well, that's going to be news to a lot of members of Congress on both sides of the aisle, but particularly to the aging members of the Democratic caucus. Multiple other aging Democrats are finding themselves under attack and being threatened with a primary. Jan Schakowsky, the congresswoman from Illinois, has announced that she will not be running again. She's 81 years old. The David Hogg saga proving another headache for Democrats who voted the 25-year-old gun reform activist into a top spot at the DNC in February, only to sour on him after he vowed to spend millions of dollars on behalf of young progressive candidates, even if it meant challenging Democratic incumbents. A vote on whether to redo Hogg's election is expected in June, sparking new charges from liberal activists who have long argued that party brass is protecting these stale traditions at the expense of winning power. Even Senate Majority Leader Chuck Schumer is under attack, and there have been strong rumors that Alexandria Ocasio-Cortez would take him on in the primary. This would be an interesting race, but while those rumors swirl, there are others that suggest that AOC would be the party's standard bearer in the 2028 presidential election. Now there's a real, in my opinion, a joke. The progressive wing of the party believes that it was the campaign tactics that lost the last election and not the message and policies. They believe that the voters will accept their position on issues like open borders, DEI, higher taxes, universal health care, no work requirements for programs like Medicaid and food stamps, and the list goes on and on. The bottom line is that Democrats still don't fully understand what their identity is and the conflict between moderate Democrats who compete in suburban America and the more progressive Democrats that normally come from deep blue districts in urban cities. And this continues to whirl the party. In the long run, as a Republican, I'm hoping the more progressive and liberal wing of the party wins out, because the voting public will reject these woke policies, that they will espouse the voting blocs that turn them out in 24 will continue to do so in the next few elections. This has been To My Liberal Friends. Thanks for listening.